Imagine you're the first person walking on Mars. You're in a place called Jezero Crater, surrounded by red dust and strange hills. The planet is silent, empty, cold. Then, suddenly, you trip. You look down, and your heart skips a beat. Lying in the dust is something that looks just like a skull. Hollow eyes, sharp edges. Like it's been watching you for thousands of years. Your mind races. Is it real? Was there life here? Or is this something even stranger? But here's the twist. This actually happened. Not to a human, but to NASA's Mars rover, Perseverance. And while it didn't find a real skull, what it did find is still shocking. A rock formation so strange, so out of place, scientists gave it a name. Skull Hill. And the deeper they looked, the more questions they had. Where did it come from? Why does it look like that? Could it hold clues to ancient life? Let's find out. Let's go back for a moment. Not thousands of years, but just a few. It's the year 2024, and NASA's Perseverance rover is exploring a very special place on Mars. It's called Jezero Crater. From space, it looks like a giant bowl with dried-up river paths leading into it. But scientists believe that a very long time ago, Jezero wasn't dry at all. They think it was once filled with water, a deep lake with rivers flowing in and out. And where there's water, there's a chance that life might have existed. That's why Perseverance was sent there. It's not just rolling around in red dust for fun. It's on a real mission to search for signs of ancient life. Right now, it's climbing down a rocky slope called Witch Hazel Hill. Sounds magical, right? But it's also scientifically important. The rocks in this area may hold clues about Mars' past weather, environment, and maybe even signs of tiny life that lived billions of years ago. On April 11th, 2025, something unusual caught the rover's eye. As it moved through an area where two different types of rocks met, one light-colored, one dark, it spotted a very strange rock sitting on the ground. It was dark, short paws, sharp, and full of little holes. To the human eye, it looked exactly like a skull. It stood out so much that NASA scientists gave it a nickname, Skull Hill. But the story gets even stranger. This rock didn't match the other rocks nearby. It looked like it didn't belong there at all, almost like it had been dropped from somewhere else. Why? Where did it come from? Could it be a clue left behind by Mars's watery past? That's what scientists are still trying to figure out. Because sometimes, the strangest rocks are the most important ones. Perseverance had seen a lot of rocks since landing on Mars, but nothing like this. It was April 11th, 2025, and the rover was carefully rolling along the edge of Witch Hazel Hill. This part of Mars looked rough and broken, like a puzzle of different rocks from different times. And then, Skull Hill appeared. Even through cameras, it looked creepy. The rock was dark, with sharp edges, and full of holes. The holes made it look almost alive. To some people, it looked like a fossil, or even a skull, staring out from the red dust. People with trypophobia, a fear of tiny holes, would get chills just looking at it. NASA scientists were surprised. This rock didn't look like anything nearby. It was too different, too unique. So they gave it a name that matched how it felt to look at. Skull Hill. The name spread fast. People online called it creepy, scary, even beautiful in a strange way. But beyond how it looked, scientists were asking deeper questions. Why is this rock shaped like that? Why are there so many holes? And most of all, how did it get here? The area it was found in is called Port Anson. And here's what's weird. Many of the rocks in Port Anson didn't form there. Scientists think they were moved, possibly by water or impacts from space, billions of years ago. That means Skull Hill might be older than the crater it sits in. It could have come from somewhere far across the planet, carried by ancient rivers, or even thrown through the air by a massive crash. And that's just the beginning. Because the more scientists looked at Skull Hill, the more they realized this wasn't just any rock. It was a clue. A message from Mars' distant past. Skull Hill wasn't just weird because of how it looked. It was weird because of where it was found. When scientists studied the area, they noticed something strange. Many of the rocks nearby looked like they didn't come from that place at all. They weren't part of the land around them. They weren't formed in the same way. They just didn't fit. So what were they doing there? Scientists have a name for these kinds of rocks. They're called float rocks, not because they float in water, but because they were moved from somewhere else, and no one is exactly sure how. Some of them may have traveled across Mars billions of years ago, during a time when the planet had rivers, lakes, and maybe even oceans. Back then, flowing water could have carried big chunks of rock over long distances. Then, over millions of years, the softer ground around them wore away, leaving behind only the toughest rocks, like Skull Hill, sitting on the surface. Other rocks might have been blasted out of the ground during huge crashes, like when an asteroid hits the planet. The impact can launch rocks high into the air, where they land far away from where they started. So Skull Hill might be a survivor from a violent time, a rock that traveled far, through water or fire, to end up where the rover found it. And that's what makes it so exciting. Because if Skull Hill didn't form here, then it holds clues about somewhere else on Mars, somewhere we haven't explored yet. It's not just a rock, it's a messenger from another part of the planet, and scientists are ready to find out what it has to say. So now we know Skull Hill is strange. It looks creepy. It's out of place, and it may have come from far away. But how did it get that way? Why does it have so many holes? Why does it look like it was carved? Almost on purpose. Scientists don't think it was made by aliens or ancient life. Instead, they believe nature is the artist. One idea is that tiny bits of the rock simply broke off over time. Maybe wind, dust, and extreme cold slowly chipped away at the surface, leaving behind pits and holes. Another idea? Martian winds. Yes, Mars has wind, even though the air is thinner than Earth's. And over millions of years, those winds can carry dust and sand like tiny knives, scraping across the rock surface. Imagine sandpaper slowly shaping the rock, making it rough, sharp, and full of holes. But the biggest question was still out there. What kind of rock is Skull Hill really? At first, some scientists thought it could be a meteorite, a rock from space that crashed into Mars. But then, NASA used Perseverance's special tool called SuperCam to study the chemicals in Skull Hill. The results? They didn't match the usual signs of a meteorite. So the team had to rethink their theory. What they found next might surprise you. Skull Hill wasn't from outer space. It was something even more powerful, volcanic. After checking the chemicals inside Skull Hill, scientists made a big discovery. It wasn't a meteorite from space. It was something that came from Mars itself, a type of rock formed by volcanoes. Excited. That's right. Even though Mars looks quiet today, it once had huge volcanoes. Some were even bigger than any on Earth. And long ago, rivers of hot lava flowed across the planet. Skull Hill, they now believe, is a piece of volcanic rock. Its dark color comes from minerals like olivine, pyroxene, and biotite, materials found in lava rocks both on Earth and Mars. So how did it end up where it is now? There are two main ideas. First, Skull Hill may have come from an ancient lava flow. As the lava cooled and broke apart over time, pieces like Skull Hill were left behind. Slowly, wind and dust uncovered it. Second, it might have been blasted out of the ground during a powerful crash, like when a giant asteroid slammed into Mars. That impact could have pulled up deep volcanic rocks and sent them flying, landing far away. Either way, Skull Hill isn't just a strange-looking rock. It's a window into Mars' violent past. It tells us that this planet wasn't always quiet and cold. It was once hot, active, and full of explosive energy. And if Skull Hill has survived all this time, it might also be hiding secrets about the conditions that once made Mars a place where life could begin. While Skull Hill grabbed everyone's attention, the Perseverance rover wasn't slowing down. In fact, it was working harder and faster than ever before. Since December 2024, Perseverance has been on a roll, literally. It's been exploring a rocky slope called Witch Hazel Hill, scanning, drilling, and blasting every strange rock it finds. And now, it's breaking records. In just a few months, the rover has collected samples from 5 different rocks, closely studied 7 others, fired its laser at 83 rocks to learn what they're made of. That's the fastest pace of research since the mission began in 2021. Why the rush? Because this part of Mars, along the edge of Jezero Crater, is filled with rocks that don't look like anything Perseverance has seen before. They're sharper, weirder, older, and possibly more important. NASA scientists are excited because these rocks might contain evidence of ancient life, tiny signs that Mars was once alive with microbes, lakes, and maybe more. But here's the catch. Even though Perseverance has collected amazing samples, we can't bring them back to Earth yet. That's the job of a future mission called the Mars Sample Return. The plan is to launch another spacecraft that will grab the samples and fly them back home. But right now, that plan is facing big delays. It's expensive, complicated, and still waiting for final approval. So for now, the samples are just sitting there, on Mars, waiting to be picked up, waiting to possibly change what we know about life in the universe. While Perseverance was busy exploring Jezero Crater, another rover, Curiosity, was uncovering a completely different mystery. It was looking at Mars air, or more importantly, what used to be in the air. A long time ago, scientists believed Mars had a thick atmosphere, full of carbon dioxide. That gas helps trap heat, so the planet could have been warm, wet, and maybe even habitable. But today, Mars is cold and dry. The big question is, where did all that carbon go? Normally, on a planet with lots of CO2, you'd expect to find special rocks called carbonates. These form when carbon dioxide reacts with water and rock. But on Mars, scientists weren't finding many carbonates at all. That didn't make sense, until now. In 2025, Curiosity found a clue in an area called Jezero Crater. It discovered a special kind of mineral, siderite, which is a type of iron carbonate. Siderite was hiding inside layers of salty rock, the kind that forms when water dries up. This could mean that long ago, Mars's carbon dioxide turned into solid rock and got locked deep underground. Over time, that might have caused the atmosphere to thin out, the planet to cool down, and the water to disappear. And just like that, Mars went from a possible home for life to the cold, lifeless world we see today. But there's more. Those same salty layers may also hold traces of organic molecules, the kind that life is made of. So while the air was vanishing, the building blocks of life might have still been hanging around, buried in the rocks, waiting to be found. Let's talk about one of the most exciting discoveries on Mars so far, organic molecules. What are those? On Earth, organic molecules are the building blocks of life. They're made of carbon, and everything from plants to animals to humans is built from them. So when NASA's Curiosity rover found organic molecules in Mars rocks, scientists were amazed. They found them in Jezero Crater, an area that used to be covered with water long ago. The rover used a powerful tool called SAM to look closely at the soil, rocks, and even the air. What it found made everyone stop and think. SAM detected carbon-based gases like methane and carbon dioxide and noticed special patterns in them. Some of those patterns looked like what you'd expect from tiny, ancient life forms. The kind of life too small to see, microbes that may have lived billions of years ago. But here's the twist. There's another explanation. Maybe these organic molecules didn't come from life at all. Maybe they were made by sunlight reacting with gases in Mars' atmosphere. On Mars, sunlight is strong and full of ultraviolet rays. It can break apart molecules, mix them up, and create new ones, without any life being involved. So, what's the truth? Did tiny life forms once live on Mars? Or did chemistry all by itself create the clues we're seeing today? We don't know for sure. But either way, the fact that Mars has organic molecules means it had the right ingredients for life. And that's a big deal, because where the ingredients exist, life might have existed too. So now we've seen the rocks, the clues, the strange shapes, and the missing atmosphere. We've seen how one dark, hole-filled rock called Skull Hill can raise big questions, not just about geology, but about life. Was Mars once alive? Did something swim in its lakes? Could tiny life forms have left behind hints that we're only now starting to find? We don't have the full answer, not yet, but with every sample collected, every strange rock discovered, and every mystery solved, we're getting closer. And maybe, just maybe, Skull Hill isn't just a weird rock. Maybe it's part of a bigger story Mars is trying to tell us. A story about what it used to be, and what it might still hide beneath the surface. So what do you think? Could Mars have supported life long ago? Do you think we'll find proof someday soon? Let us know in the comments below. If this video made you curious, give it a like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another strange discovery from space. And if you want to keep exploring Mars, just click the next video on your screen. We promise it's out of this world. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay bold, and remember, the red planet still has secrets to share.